All right, guys, we're here today with my good friend Rich Hunt. Rich is a statistician on the PGA Tour. He works for a lot of the guys you watch every Saturday and Sunday on TV. Today we're going to talk about a few of his principles that he uses with these guys to help them shoot lower scores. All right, guys, first off, we want to give a shout out to Reunion Resort in beautiful Reunion, Florida for allowing us to film here today. Rich Hunt, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good, good, good. Thanks for coming out today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So you are a PGA Tour statistician. Talk about that, because I'm sure a lot of people aren't even familiar that a lot of these pros have statisticians working for them.
Sure. What I do is I provide analysis based on their stats. Today, with the modern stats, they're using ShotLink, which is a laser system that can measure where the ball is located to the nearest inch. And we're going beyond the traditional metrics in golf, like greens in regulation or total putts, because those are metrics that are oftentimes flawed or incomplete. And we're going into diving into more intricate and complex metrics to help evaluate human performance and behavior. And it can go anything not only from actual how they hit the ball off the tee or how well they putt, but also strategy, what courses fit their game, and also, benchmarking of goals and everything like that.
All right, so one of your concepts that you first mentioned to me was your power to putting principle. Talk about what that is and why that's important for the average player at home.
Sure. Well, one of the things is whether I'm working with a player that's in the top 10 in the world rankings or a 10 handicap, I am looking to determine an accurate number as far as how far they hit the ball, how much club speed they generate and ball speed they generate. Because that really dictates a lot of what they need to work on. And on the tour level, what we see is there is some correlation between distance and speed and tour success. But when we get to the amateur level, it's a very strong correlation. If you have two amateurs that you don't even know, and one generates 5 miles per hour more clubhead speed than the other, it's a good bet that that player has the lower handicap.
Okay, and ultimately that's because the longer the further you hit it off the tee, the shorter the shot in. The shorter the shot in, typically you'll have a shorter putt in.
Yes,
correct?
Yes, especially if you see like long hitters. If you get to the tour level, they get the advantage. They're going to have shorter length birdie putts on average as they hit it longer. And that really shows up on the par 5s and also any type of dogleg hole.
Why a dogleg in particular?
It just has to do with the geometry, and that's where, let's say you have two players, one hits it generally on average on a straight hole, hits it 30 yards further than the other. But if you have a dogleg, and let's say you have a bunker or a water that guy can't carry that hits it shorter, because of the geometry, he might be 50, 60, 70 yards behind the guy who can carry that bunker.
Right. Now, does the par 5 stat take into account that a lot of times the bombers are hitting the green in 2?
Yes.
So is that taking into account that their second or their birdie putt could actually be the second putt of a...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's absolutely. And also drivable par 4s for them.
Got it. Okay. Now, you were talking about two distances when it came to putting and the importance of that. Talk about 7 and 12 feet putts and kind of where those show some differences.
So kind of using the example of the power to putting principle, where the longer you hit the ball, the shorter your average length birdie putt is likely to be. So if you have a 7 feet 10 inches, the tour averages, they make about 50% of those.
Okay, so that at 7 feet 10 inches, that's where those guys are making 50%.
And probably about the worst putter from 7 feet 10 inches on tour is probably making about 40% of those.
What's the best one making?
Probably about 62% or so.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say you have two players. Player A is much longer, and his average birdie putt is 7 feet 10 inches. and player B is at 12 feet average length birdie putt. He hits it shorter. So what happens is that you can be a poor putter from 7 feet 10 inches, and let's say that's about 40% you're making it. Where from 12 feet, the average tour player I think is making around about 25%. If you were really good from 12 feet, you're about 35% make percentage. So that guy who's at 7 feet 10 inches is making 40%. He's a poor putter, making 40%, whereas the good putter is making roughly 35%. And so that longer hitter who is the inferior player, for example, Bubba Watson's a great example. He's been pretty much a subpar putter throughout his career, but he wins on tour because he hits it so long, and it makes up for his inferior skills of the putter. And if he gets 4 days where he putts pretty well, he can now get into contention. So.
Got it. So if you're going to hit it shorter, you better be a better putter.
Yes, and that goes for if you feel like you need to lay up a lot, because you're now hitting it shorter off the tee, you're going to need to improve your putting. Now, if somebody like Tiger, he started laying up quite a bit towards 2010, from 2005 to 2010, but he had the advantage of well, first of all, his driving was very poor during that period, but he's probably the greatest iron player that ever lived, and he was an incredible putter.
So who else were some of the really good guys that put together driving and putting? They were good drivers, but also statistically very good putters.
Well, if you look at the guys that were really long and good putters, and we're not even looking at their iron play, you got Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson had stretches where he was very long and good putting. Sometimes he didn't putt as well. Or even some just small examples like John Daly in the 1991 PGA Championship. He was driving it by everybody, and he was making everything with a putter. And he didn't even, his iron play was decent, but he was just so long, and he was finding fairways that week, and he was making everything he looked at. That's why he just blew away the field. So.
Yeah. What about a modern day player like a Dustin Johnson?
Well, Dustin Johnson, he's improved his putting quite a bit. Brooks Koepka has been pretty steady. He's had some stretches where he hasn't putted well, but in general, he's a very long and a very good putter. And then you see some guys that are kind of lower level players that are going through some swing mechanic issues, but they hit it long and they putt well and they keep themselves on tour, like Wyndham Clark is a good example.
Got it. Okay. Well, obviously there's a strong correlation between those names you mentioned, because they obviously have multiple wins to their name. So
yeah, short, crooked, and bad putting is no way to go through the PGA Tour life. So.
Perfect. So Richie, you have an ebook.
Yeah. Tell
Tell them about that and where they can find you.
Yes, it's called Pro Golf Synopsis, and it's an annual ebook. The last edition I made was for 2019. Didn't make one out for 2020 because of COVID, but I plan on having one out for 2021. It's going to probably be out in December. But you can find the book. You can go to my website at 3jack.blogspot.com, and that's the number 3.
Awesome. Well, we're going to film 4 more videos covering 4 other topics that Richie shared with me. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time.